Currently being brought to you by Zetagrid, Australia's award-winning provider of on-demand IT infrastructure for businesses that want reliability, speed and flexibility.
Welcome back to The Buzz, brought to you by Zetagrid, the world's best internet service provider.
If Zetagrid were here, Jason, I'd give them a big cuddle.
Big cuddle. They definitely need a big cuddle.
They deserve it.
Now, the weather's getting colder. And when the weather gets colder, Paul, sometimes parts of our anatomy tend to not be as impressive as they are at other times.
Oh, not for me.
Really? Well, Candace has found an application that might help us not get too embarrassed in the future.
Oh, what's it called?
It's called Willy Weather.
Willy Weather?
Get your minds out of the gutter, you mob. That's all good. Get your minds out of the gutter. I just got to make sure that this app is working. For some reason, it's not showing up on this screen.
Well, let's have a look at these tweets that are coming up in the meantime.
Look at some of the tweets.
We haven't done any tweets yet. Should we do tweets?
There we go.
Jason?
I got it up now.
Oh, you got it up?
Okay.
Yeah,
right. We'll do some tweets later.
As soon as they flick it in the background, should be all good. But this app is Willy Weather, and it is the first app that I'm going to actually give a buzz factor of 10 out of 10. It is absolutely magnificent in every way. It's designed by weather enthusiasts, for weather enthusiasts. Just really, really exciting app. Really enjoying it, and I wish you could really see it.
We'd like to be able to see the app as well.
Totally understand.
Can you actually, I know we have, the way that we do these app reviews is we use an iPhone or an iPad and we connect using an Apple TV, which then connects back into the back end of the TV studio.
They actually have a website, so we can put the website up whilst Candace is talking about that.
And you can have a weather forecast. Look at that.
Yeah, it's a weather forecast called Willy Weather.
And look, we don't have that coming up either.
They've got a picture of a funny looking
Willy. We seem to be having some technical problems this evening, but don't fret, we will get to that. We'll get to that review. Let's just talk about some of these tweets that we have coming through.
Let's talk about tweets, Jason, because I love tweets.
Well, there's actually quite a few coming through tonight, which is very interesting. Joe Boy 88 says...
Kelly.
What? Joe Kelly says, FOMO, that's what us Scots eat with our haggis.
Gareth says, those Facebook floating heads freak me out, but that might be more to do with the look of my friends than the application. Shazam.
Ooh, The Buzz, is it just me, or does Candace Barnes look more like Gen Y every episode? Who's Gen Y?
I'm totes Gen Y, babes.
You are looking a bit...
Just totes Gen
Y.
Y.
Yeah, you're
I'm
just
within the
funky.
range for Gen Y.
You're just funky, that's what it is.
Kirky says, I invented FOMO. Otto Ashboth refers to Lisa Barnes and Perth Billboard. That looks like there's a new account, actually, on Twitter for Perth Billboard.
Okay, the Billboard, of course, has got its own account. Awesome. Absolutely
the only way that really you're going to do it, isn't it?
Lisa Barnes.
And, of course, Steve, just the last tweet here, Steve says, I really hope there's no nudity tonight on The Buzz, especially of Jay Jordan.
Yeah, you're not the only one. In fact, there's a convention of nuns somewhere in North Perth tonight having a little prayer vigil for that very reason.
I'll have you know it's an extraordinary, it's a temple.
It is a temple, but it's a Buddhist temple.
Let's go to Candace.
With a bit of luck, we've got this up. Yes, we can see it. It's right behind me. Fantastic. So this is Willy Weather. I give it 10 buzz factor out of 10. It is absolutely fantastic. It has everything a weather enthusiast could ever want, bar one thing, and I'll tell you about that in just a moment.
Tell us about the willies.
There's
is there willies in it?
You guys just have your brains in the gutter. Just because it's called Willy Weather, it doesn't mean it has anything to do with that appendage.
I want to get vagina weather myself.
What have you got against willies, Candace?
I've got nothing, absolutely
she loves willies.
nothing against willies.
You love willies.
But I love weather, and this is what we're talking about right now, a time and a place, and it's not right now.
Sorry.
So we can look at, when it comes to the weather app, we can look at our current location, or you can override it and look at any other location within Australia, and we of course are in Western Australia, and the studio is conveniently located right near Northbridge, so that's the one we're looking at. It has everything you could possibly want to know. Your typical 7-day forecast, a lot of apps kind of deliver that, that's no big deal. The rainfall, the chance of rainfall for the upcoming 7-day forecast, your winds, this is where it really gets interesting. It's the movement, it's the direction, it's the strength of the wind throughout the 24 hours to come, which is really exciting. It also has a few little added extras. So the moon phases, it has tides, it has swell, it has sunrise, sunset times, UV ratings, and of course, what would a weather app be without having the radar? The radar is probably one of the most exciting features on a weather app, though there's not a lot to be seen at the moment. Though it was looking, I must say, and you will just have to take my word from me on this, it was looking a bit more exciting a few days ago when we actually did have some rain. You can see the warnings. It's customizable in a lot of ways. Yes, it is a free app, which means that we might see some premium advertising on there coming up in the future, though the places where it looks like that the advertising will go don't seem too obtrusive. So when they do introduce that feature, hopefully it won't reduce my rating of this app. But the one thing that would make it be sort of an 11 out of 10 in my book is if they could possibly harness a weather zone feature that they have on the Weather Zone app, which is a paid app, by the way, where you can see what time of day the temperature and the rainfall is likely to peak. So, for example, if you're going to a concert at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you don't really care whether there are morning showers, you want to know what it's like at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and the paid Weather Zone app can do that. But you get what you pay for. For a free app, this is absolutely magnificent, and if you're really into weather, or even if you're not and you just want to know what the forecast is for the upcoming 7 days and you really can't be bothered visiting the Bureau website, definitely download Willy Weather. Much smarter than this FBI agent.
Task Force NYPD converged on that apartment building. Now the media had been knocking on our door since early this morning. In fact, we were here.
It's the Keystone Cops all over again, isn't it? All right, now, my kids all tend to love the iPad, the iPhone. They're right. In fact, they're addicted to it.
So here's the difference, because I would imagine we don't have that much technology in front of our kids. We tend to, they do a lot of craft, they do a lot of Lego, they do a lot of colouring in, whereas I'd imagine at the Jordan household, as soon as they were crawling, you'd be stuffing an iPad in front of them so they could
absolutely
mash it and dribble on it.
Yeah, and you know, the funny thing was as well, and this is really one of the things that converted me across to the whole iPad, iPhone world, was the fact that even as a 12-month-old, they could work out how to use it and actually be productive on it straight away.
Well, when you say productive...
Oh, you know what I mean. They're able to actually use the games.
They're able to do stuff.
They were doing stuff, and that's just incredible. I think that is a real credit to Apple to show how well it's been designed.
Well, and more so the technology, the touch-screeny technology is very intuitive. However, the problem lies in the fact that kids are getting too addicted to it.
Says who?
They've got to take them away. Well, there's a study done in a university, I believe it was in, was it the United Kingdom or the United States, that basically psychologists are getting paid to chat to little kids and say to them, now, little Johnny, you don't need to use the iPad. Repeat after me. Don't need to use the iPad.
Yeah,
because it's a real problem.
But it's teaching them stuff as well.
Well, it is, but it's also not teaching them other stuff. You could back them around the head with a baseball bat and say, well, it's teaching them that hitting them around the head with a baseball bat hurts.
All right, but, so I guess what we're saying is just be careful with your kids. Don't let them use the stuff too much.
Everything in moderation, I think, is the key here.
Now, how often is it that you're listening to a song, you forget the lyrics, you don't know the words, and you wish that you did? Well,
all the time.
Candace has an application which will solve that problem once and for all.
If you fancy karaoke, or even if you have a lot of time to spend in Perth traffic, and who doesn't, I must admit, this absolutely is a fantastic app. If you forget lyrics to songs, if you just want to know what the lyrics to songs are, or if you really want to correct someone who is absolutely wrong and you know it about certain songs and you know who you are, I'm looking at you. This is called Music's Match Lyrics Player. So Music's Match spelt with an X, but if you type in lyrics into the App Store, it should come up. It is another free app. It's absolutely fantastic, but unfortunately it does not support fantastic local artists such as Moog. So apparently it's forgotten the lyrics to that song, which is not too much of a problem because we've got something a little more apparently mainstream in Bullet for My Valentine. Thanks, whoever's phone this is. It's not too shabby. Just bring up, say, a track that I had vetted earlier to make sure it wasn't too inappropriate for our audience this evening. Okay, for example, Say Goodnight. If we really want to sing along to it, we can. There is a solo at this point in the song, so we'll just, there we go. We're singing along. Oh, there we go. So there it is. You see? No, it's right there.
It's one line out.
It's right there.
It's scrolling
it's
a
one
bit
line
slow.
out. If you play it from the beginning, it's not as bad. I'm just being impatient.
That's great if you're drunk. You're singing
It's like what we're like with karaoke anyway. You don't sing it right. I did hear someone do We Are the Champions the other night. It was absolutely...
So how much is that one, Candace?
It's absolutely free.
Free?
You do get, there is some advertising in there, so not really much of a surprise. But I'm going to give this one a buzz factor of 8 out of 10 because it's truly very useful and it reads from your music library.
Ooh.
So the songs that are in your library, you're not getting loading all of these lyrics for songs that you don't have and or like. It's reading what's in your library and it's giving you those lyrics at the time that you want them.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
The fact that you start singing Coke halfway through some song has nothing to do with it.
Absolutely not. On a bit more of a serious note, there was a viral video over the internet this week which featured Family Guy, and it's a little bit awkward with the timing of the Boston bombings and all. Take a look.
Holy crap, this is awesome! I haven't felt a rush like this since I won that marathon.
I'm Bob Costas, here with Boston Marathon winner Peter Griffin. Peter, how did you do it?
I'll tell you, Bob, I just got in my car and drove it. And when there was a guy in my way, I killed him.
Ooh, awkward.
Now, Jason Jordan, I don't know whether you've heard of Alex Jones.
Tinfoil hat guy in the States.
InfoWars and Prison Planet, two of the websites, and he has a very, very popular radio show in the United States. He has been all over this. They basically doctored two clips, one from the beginning of the episode, one from later in the episode, together, presented it as a piece and said this is what happened. Later on in the episode, he has a phone. He makes friends with a friend who's turns out to be a terrorist and setting off bombs, and they're saying that this was set up as a false flag operation. The clues are in the episode. Seth MacFarlane is obviously onto it. It's obviously Seth MacFarlane himself, the creator, has said this is a load of bullshit, it never happened, blah, blah, blah. But it is interesting, and the fact is people have been posting the conjoined clips on YouTube, and YouTube's been pulling them. So every time one gets pulled down, they're going, see, it's true.
Well, let's talk a little bit further about the whole Boston bombings, Boston Marathon thing. It obviously broke on social media. That's where I certainly saw some of the first indications of what was going on. But there's obviously a very big difference between the way things get reported in social media and the way things have to be reported in mainstream media. And as a direct result of the need to verify certain information, it means that Twitter is always going to be where you go for breaking news, even though it might actually be completely inaccurate.
The funny thing is you have to a degree, you'll see the breaking news on Twitter, and then you have to go and try and verify it somewhere, and you'll go and look for a trusted news source, which is going to, and I think Chrissy Amphlett yesterday was an interesting example of that, can be 5 or 6 or 7 minutes behind. So interesting to see how newsrooms really cope with this, because you want to be first, you want to be on it, but at the same time it's important to verify.
So it's better to be right than first. There we go.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, now, have you been to space recently? Weird things happen up there. Commander Hadfield, who's the Canadian astronaut currently on the International Space Station, is doing lots of very cool things up there to show us how brilliant it is to be in space. I am so thankful
this guy's up there. It seems no one has done it until this Canadian guy's got up and gone, you know what? You people need to see this.
Check out what happens when you wring a wet towel.
Hello, wet towel. You there?
And now let's start wringing it out. It's really wet. The water's all over my hands. In fact, it wrings out of the cloth into my hands. And if I let go of the cloth carefully, the water sort of has it stick to my hand.
Just like magic. Well, I reckon we're running out of time, so let's go straight to Candice and find out who we should be following on Twitter.
Time is indeed of the essence, but Twitter is a quick medium, and so I'll be quick as well. The first recommendation I have for you this week is @6000, and that's the word spelled out 6000. They're an eclectic bunch of Perth, and I'm going to call them hipsters because they kind of do come across a little bit hipsters. But they've got some really great information about the little gems in Perth, the foodie places, the fashion places, the events, and a few little DIY projects that you can try at home as well. So worth a follow just to see whether you like them. The second one, I wouldn't have thought she'd do Twitter as well as she does, but apparently Yoko Ono is really doing quite good things. Her message of peace is quite uplifting, and you know, though some people blame her for breaking up the Beatles, she really is using Twitter in a very, very smart and charming and intellectual way. So if you're into having a little bit of a boost in the midweek, and if you follow her messages of peace and love and harmony and world happiness and all that kind of thing, then definitely give her a follow @Yoko Ono. And the last one I have for you this week is @ConsumerWA. It's another government department doing things really well on Twitter, the Department of Consumer Protection. They'll tell you all about the shonky products, the con men warnings, and it's worth a follow even if it's just to see some of the stupid things that people fall for. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Candice. We are completely out of time. You can see the credits rolling along the bottom there. We'd love to have your participation all the time through the week. Just use #TheBuzz. If you've got anything you'd like to see on the show, just let us know. We're happy to do it for you. Thank you to Zetagrid for sponsoring us. Thanks to the crew for all your help today. We'll be back again next Tuesday, 7 p.m.
Sayonara.
See you then.
The Buzz, Australia's only live, interactive social media program on free-to-air TV, was proudly brought to you by Zetagrid, Australia's award-winning provider of on-demand IT infrastructure for businesses that want reliability, speed and flexibility.